This is a review of the Tronsmart Mirror2TV EZCast Pro dongle, also known as the T2000, as it is the second generation of this particular dongle. Now this dongle differs from, say, a Fire TV or a Roku in that those devices have content basically built into the devices. You can download apps to them, you can run those apps directly from the device, and you can get the content that way. All you really need is some sort of remote control, the device, and your television. In this case, as far as I can tell, the T2000 actually mostly is there simply for casting content from a phone or a tablet. So you would need to have a tablet or a phone in the mix running EZCast Pro to take content from the tablet and put it up on your television. Now, in the foreground, I have a Kindle Fire HDX 8.9, and in the background behind that, I have my television set. The EZCast Pro app is not currently available on the Amazon App Store. I sideloaded the app from the Google Play Store. The app is free, and sideloading is easy to do and doesn't violate any warranties, just to reassure people. For further instructions, just take a look online on the web for sideloading Kindle Fire. Alright, so we brought up the app. I'm going to press EZCast Pro. It is going to go out and search for the device. It found it, and it immediately brings up my menu of options. So first option over here to the left is Photos, and you can see the television set just went to a screen where it says it's basically the waiting for content screen. All I have to do is push this photo there on the tablet, and you've now got the photos that I took when I went on a business trip to Moscow. And swiping through these photos is easy, so if I were ready to bore people with the details of my trip, I can put up the photos on a television screen for everybody to see. I don't choose to waste any time any more than I already have, so let's move on. There is a camera button as well. It will control the tablet camera. And if I had this in my hands, I could then take video or pictures and put them up on the television set, although frankly I'm not sure why I would ever want to. I don't need to take a picture, so let's move on now. Music, I do not control the orientation on this. This basically must be in portrait orientation. It is a failing of the program. Let me pick just a song, and then let's see what happens when we cast that to the television set. Okay, to the extent that my television has sound, then you can get a decent sound out of that. However, this would be better off if I were to play this casting it through my receiver using Bluetooth. Video, this is not finding the video that Amazon has stored on my system. I do have some videos that I can find using the ES File Explorer here that it can find, but I won't waste your time with that. Let's move on with this. I do want to do some video reviewing later, but we can work that out later. Documents, web is basically taking you to a web browser, and then it's taking you to their default web page where they've got some apps set up where you can start browsing the web. Highlights, it's just whatever they have picked to showcase, in this case some fireworks displays from the New Year's Eve. Then they've got YouTube, Vimeo, IMDb, and so on. So let's just throw something up there from the London fireworks. This is basically going to the mobile YouTube site. In this case, the foreground basically puts up a player where you can pause and you can change the sound, and the background now on the television is actually playing the fireworks display. Let's pause that. Other things that you can do from the web, we can go to, say, CNN.com. It's basically a web browser. Anything you can do on the web, you can then put up on the television within the limits of what the tablet can display. For example, there are some rich Flash sites that the Kindle Fire cannot display and will not display properly. Looks like it's having a little problem loading CNN.com. There it goes. I'm not going to waste any time on this one either. It just verifies that it works. This is the Cloud Video button. As you can see, it basically goes to exactly the same place. And it really is just taking you to a website where there are links to various online content. Cloud storage, this thing will support Dropbox and some others, Google Drive for example. I don't currently have accounts set up on those. Split screen, right at the moment I haven't found too much of a use for that, but you can set up, right now it's currently displaying everything to one screen. You can split the screen or you can actually put it to 4. Then comment is a way for you to provide feedback. There is an update button, there are preferences, a radio. It does not have everything on it, but it will... it looks like it did not preserve my history from the last time I was in this app, so I'm not going to, again, waste time. There are several radio stations that will stream. And then you've got the setup for the device itself. So on screen, it's probably too small for you to see, but it's got a resolution, then password, and you can toggle through these using this. The password is for its own Wi-Fi signal, and currently the tablet is connected to that Wi-Fi signal. Then it's got connected to my router, the language you can choose, the default mode. Default mode, honestly I don't know too much about what the differences are. It looks like you can go to Easy Mirror or EZCast. Now EZCast is where you are casting data from the tablet to the television. You may remember in some of the things, like the music, it wasn't playing in both places. It was simply, there was a player in the foreground and then the television was going through the music. And Mirror really is mirroring everything that you see on the tablet is being mirrored to the screen. And I'll show you how that works in a little bit with the Galaxy Tab Pro. The Kindle Fire HDX unfortunately does not support mirroring with this device, even though the device and the tablet are supposed to both support Mirrorcast, which means I ought to be able to find the device and do a full true mirroring. But when I tested this, it basically, and asked the Kindle to go look for a device to mirror to, it basically spun there and never was able to find the device. I'm going to leave that on EZCast. A connection, basically, that says, do you want to connect just over the internet, or do you want to go directly to the router and connect through the router without going out to the internet and back in again? A router connection for streaming is probably preferred because that bypasses some of that. And then an upgrade for you to download the latest upgrade. This is connected to the internet, so it can update itself wirelessly as it needs to. That's the basic functionality with the Kindle Fire HDX. Most of this works. The things that don't, it's finding where I put my music without any trouble. It does not find where Amazon puts videos. It did manage to find some videos that I had copied in there. And if you can figure out where Amazon drops its own videos on there that it downloads either via Prime or via your own library, you can get the player to play them. There are some problems with the player, but I'll cover that in more detail when I talk about how you can interact with the Galaxy Tab Pro. For now, that's the Kindle Fire. Okay, so I'm mirroring the Galaxy Tab Pro directly to the television set. I've hooked this up to my Amazon Instant Video account, and I'm playing a favorite, childhood favorite. Now, I don't know how well this is going to show through, but in this video recording, but what I can see on the television screen is noticeably darker and redder than what I'm seeing on the tablet. The color is not what I expected. Now, I expect a little bit of hesitation, and actually on that score, it's actually not doing badly at all. It is playing reasonably smoothly. And considering this is a high-def version of this animated film, that's not too bad. But it is definitely, there is definitely a problem with the video. It is not what I expected to see. Try this again, but this time with a black and white film, The Philadelphia Story, a classic. Now, it's black and white, so there's no problem with the color here. It is a little bit fuzzy around the edges. This is a high-def rip, and the motion is just not quite silky smooth as I would hope, but again, this is perfectly watchable. It is actually not too much of a problem. The contrast and the brightness are still a little bit off, a little bit too much contrast and not quite enough brightness. Now let's try something a little bit more recent. This is, as you can see, the Avengers. And this one, for some reason, the color registration is actually not too bad. It's still a little bit darker than I would like, but the reddish tinge that I was noticing from the first film is simply not as much of a problem here. The color, they're a little bit more red there than I expect, but other than that, not too bad. Again, this is reasonable quality, and you could watch it, but I would actually prefer just to watch it using my Amazon Instant Video or account, or just watching it on my tablet and perhaps streaming it out through HDMI. Okay, now let's try some screen mirroring. I'm using this with my Galaxy Tab Pro now. I've got the EZCast Pro app up and running, and I'm going to click the Easy Mirror button. The television screen changes to say that the Easy Mirror display resolution is decided by the tablet, and then it tells you to restart your smartphone if it fails to connect. There's a button on the tablet screen showing. I'm going to press that to on. Now what that does is it disconnects me from the EZCast Pro. So I now have to connect to my router directly on the network, and so it's obtaining its IP address now. Then I'm going to go to screen mirroring on the tablet, and it is going to connect. And if I'm doing all this properly, and if the connection succeeds, then what's showing up on my tablet will make its way to the screen. As you can see, that's exactly what you're looking at. Now everything I do on the tablet from this point on is going to be mirrored to the screen. So this was the screen where I pushed the on button to mirror the device to the tablet. So everything that I do from this point on is now going to be handled that way. So I press my Dolphin web browser, I can browse to Facebook, all of these things or Amazon, all of these things just basically work as expected. And anything that I'm looking at, if I'm reading a book, if I'm looking at Google Maps, if I'm looking at the browser or playing a video or playing music, all of these things will immediately make their way to the screen. So there's really not much I can show here. This basically is doing exactly what I expect to do. I can go to Netflix. Let's see if there's anything good on Netflix to play. Oh, what the heck, let's watch the first couple of seconds of the first Friends episode. Color resolution looks a little bit redder than I expect, but actually not unduly so. Alright, I think we basically had enough. So basically anything I can do on my tablet, whether it's looking for videos, whether it's playing music, whether it's looking at pictures, everything will show up on the tablet until I disconnect the screen mirroring. One of the things I want to point out is that one of the, in theory, attractions of a device like this is the ability to play an Android game on a 50-inch television screen. And that sounds awesome. There's two problems with that. One is there's a little bit of a lag between pressing something on the tablet and actually seeing it happen on the screen. And the other is most game controls require that you actually be looking down at your tablet screen. Now, you might be able to find some games where you really can control them with your phone or your tablet by using the built-in gyroscope and by moving the tablet around, in which case, yeah, that would actually work pretty well as long as you're willing to accept a little bit of a lag. So this is one, it's possible, but I would say don't necessarily count on it always working the way you might hope it would. It's worth calling out that the EZCast Pro app has some problems. At least I found some problems when I was trying to use this. So, for example, I have photos, music, and video that I've copied to this tablet, and yet the EZCast Pro app was unable to locate any of them. I pressed photo and it simply told me I had no photos. It was able to control my camera successfully. I took a picture though, and then went back to the photos, and it still claimed I had no photos. I pressed the music button, and instead of just telling me I had no music or finding my music, it went into an infinite loop, and I had to kill the app to get back to the screen. Same thing with video. It didn't go to infinite loop, but it didn't find anything. Web worked just fine. Cloud video worked just fine. Cloud storage, if I'd had a storage account, would have worked. The rest of everything else worked. But the photo, music, and video did not. Now in this case, because the Galaxy Tab Pro supports screen mirroring and that works, it's less of an issue. But it is a little bit troubling that one of the more popular tablet brands of the past few years is unable to work properly with the EZCast Pro. There are definitely problems with the app. And I did manage to crash the app a few times as I was playing around with this and doing some testing. All of this works. It's just a little bit more fragile than I would have expected. And in the case of the Galaxy Tab Pro, you're probably not going to be able to locate some of what you're looking for. You're just going to have to screen mirror. What makes it frustrating is that the app gives no clue as to where it's looking for those items, the photos, the music, and the video. It simply says it can't find anything. So and there's no file browsing capability, so there's nothing I can do to say, no, the content you're looking for is over here, go ahead and play it. But again, it's less of a problem because this does support screen mirroring, so anything I want to do, I can just mirror on the screen, and then I have full access to my photos, my music, and my videos. So now I've shown you everything that the dongle can do. Let me show you the dongle itself. I've included my Samsung Galaxy S3 smartphone in the picture here just because that'll give you an idea of the size. The dongle itself is maybe double or triple the size of your typical flash drive. It is relatively thin, has an HDMI output, and then a micro USB specifically for charging. It also comes with an HDMI extender cable in case that sticking straight out of your television is simply not practical. In my case, I had no problem with that, so I didn't test it with that. But that allows you to then dangle it down or move it a little bit out of the way. There's not a whole lot to see here. This is basically what it is. You plug the USB into your television if it supports that. If not, then into a dedicated charger and everything else. Then you pick it, you select the input from your television, and everything just works. The setup process is not particularly complicated. You have to give it the password to get onto your internet. But after that, once you've got it past that screen and past a few settings screens, it simply sits there and waits for you to connect to it with the EZCast Pro application. So the final verdict on this one is going to be mixed. There's a lot that it does, and there's a lot to like about being able to take the content of a tablet and throw it up onto, say, a 50-inch television set. However, it really does seem to me that this just isn't that mature yet, and there are still some problems in the system. The fact that I couldn't get my Fire HDX 8.9 to recognize the device, even though technically they both support Mirrorcast, and I ought to have been able to cast to it from there. The fact that it was so problematic getting access to my music, video, and photos on the Galaxy Tab Pro. Just glitches and things that I had to occasionally restart a device or an app crash. So it does work, and when it does work, it's not too bad. Don't expect super high fidelity on your videos. There's going to be a little bit of graininess. There's going to be a little bit of color problems. It's not going to be the fine, sharp 1080p resolution in the streaming, unless you've got one heck of a home network. But, the fact is it does work, and this is a fantastic way, for example, to show your vacation pictures off so you don't have to hand a tablet around the room, or worse, a smartphone. I've been using this with the tablets, but think about a 4-inch smartphone screen and being able to take a video, music, or whatever, and throw it up to your home receiver, for example, in the music, being able to play your pictures on your television screen. There's a lot to like about it. And because they can update this over the air, that means that some of these glitches are going to be worked out over the next few months as they fix both the application and fix the dongle itself as they upgrade. For now, I can say if you can look at this and see things that you would do with it, then I can recommend it. It's not very expensive, and it does some really cool things. But you also, if this is something you don't need, you might want to wait for the technology to mature just a little bit.